Alrighty, guys, I'm Casey, and welcome to a brand new episode of Into the Farlands. Last episode, or for me, 5 minutes ago, was the sun. We talked about family and friends, and I touched a little bit on being homeless, and I thought this episode I would talk in more detail about that. The sun is rising that way, yes, because we built into there. So I thought we'd touch a little bit on being homeless and also a little bit on being unemployed and going to college and stuff. So back in, yeah, just checking it got sound, just checking. So my girlfriend got pregnant back in 2009. Oh no, sorry, beginning of 2010. And is that right? No, she got pregnant in 2009. Yeah, because my daughter's date of birth. Yeah. Okay, so back in 2008, I met my wife, and we started dating. And in 2009, at the beginning of 2009, she got pregnant. And so we decided to leave college because she was pregnant. We were on an acting course. It was very physical, not really kind of what you want to be doing when you're carrying a bun in the oven. And I started looking for a job. Now, my job search took me to a lot of different jobs, but ultimately I was kind of in a corner where I couldn't get a job. Because while my village is well connected, it is also out in the middle of nowhere. And because it's in the middle of nowhere, the only people really going to and from this village are the people who live in this village. And so bus times were ridiculously. There was one bus company that was every hour, but the way that they ran meant that you always got into either the city or the town, the two places for jobs, at about 5 to 10 past the hour. Meaning that, well, most shifts would start at, say, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and there just wasn't a bus to get you there at that time. And so, unfortunately, I really had to try and find work that was within the realm of possible from where I live. Now, bus times have changed since then. It's a little bit more better now. But the only other bus company that could get you to and from there at 1:45 or 1:15 the hour, because buses were every half an hour, they left my village at 1:15 the hour and arrived at the town at 1:45 the hour. Or they'd arrive in my village at 1:45 and get you at the town for 1:15. So I either had to find a job that was on the route of the main bus, the Trent Barton bus, or the village bus. So, okay, let me back up a little bit. The bus that comes at just past the hour, about 5 past 10 past the hour, that's the Trent bus. That's the main bus. The other bus is a secondary bus, and it's run by a company called Stagecoach. And, well, I either had to find a job that was on the route of either of those buses, or I wasn't going to get to work. Now, like I said, I don't live too far. It's only a few miles, and yes, it's perfectly feasible to walk those miles to and from, and I do enjoy a good walk. But I have a very overprotective mother. So much so that my car recently went in the garage, and I had absolutely no way of getting there. I could have caught the bus, but I have this panic and anxiety disorder, and I tend to have a lot of panic attacks. And so I tend to avoid buses now, because it's just worst thing in the world having a panic attack when you're on a bus, because you can't really just get off. You have to wait till the next stop. And then people try to be really sweet and help you out, but they end up making matters worse. So my whole idea to this scenario was, hey, it's 4 or 5 miles. That's going to take me an hour to walk. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take one of the dogs, and I'm going to walk, and I'm going to have a good time. My mum was like, well, if you walk, I'll walk you with you. You're not walking that on your own. That's a death road, that is. And I did talk about this in a previous episode of, I can't remember if it was Into the Farlands. I think it was. I talked about the EU speeding. Yes, it was. And I talked about this road. In this, I don't know if I named the road, because I try to keep where I live a secret. Although I do slip up from time to time, so it's perfectly feasible that somebody's figured it out. But anyway, I would have to walk down that death road. Mind you, I could walk around it, but that would take my hour into about an hour and a half. And, you know, I said that I was going to walk down this road because, well, it was nice and sunny out, it was bright, and it was the middle of the day. That road's pretty much barren in the middle of the day. Like I said, everyone's at work. So I was going to risk it. I really didn't feel like walking for an extra half an hour. But anyway, she was like, no, we're fine. If you're going, then I'm just going to go out and walk somewhere. And it drives me crazy my mum's like that. So she wouldn't let me walk anywhere, which drove me crazy. It still does. But that's a rant video for another time, because my mum is an amazing person and I love her to bits. But anyway, so I had absolutely no money coming in at all, and I found out very quickly that the government actually can help you out. But they weren't going to help us out because of our parents were getting something for us. But they weren't, and no matter how many times we sent in that letter that actually said that the parents weren't getting this, the government always came back, the job centre always came back and says, we haven't received that. You know, we sent this in every single week for like 7 or 8 months. For the duration of pregnancy, we sent this in. Almost every single week. Sometimes recorded, sometimes special delivery. And the thing is, we live just a few miles from the nearest job centre. We were not allowed to take this letter down when we had to go. We had to go every 2 weeks to sign a piece of paper to get the money that they weren't paying us. But we couldn't hand that slip that says that our parents weren't getting this thing for us to the people there. We actually had to send it in. They couldn't make a photocopy of it there. They couldn't update it to their system. We had to send it in a matter. And we had to send it in to that job centre. We couldn't hand deliver it, no. We had to send it in to the same place. It was going to that job centre. That was the address they gave us to send it to every single time. Why we could not just hand deliver it was beyond me. It drove me crazy. But anyway, they eventually did pay out. But we were borrowing off my mum almost constantly. And my mum had just been put out of work at this point as well. So she was on the same thing we were on, which was government help. It's only like £50 a week. So £50 going around, 3 people, and one of those 3 people is eating for 2. You know, it doesn't go far. And tempers got a flaring, and life became grim, you know. We lost my uncle. My mum worked as a carer for my uncle, looking after him, but he sadly passed away from a stroke around that time. And that uncle was more like a dad. Okay, more like a dad to my mum, more like a dad to me. You know, I cried more tears when he passed away than I ever will when my dad dies. But, yeah. Anyway. Can I remember the bread recipe? Yes. I'm going to need some wood. But wait, so one day my mum just got really annoyed with us. Really, really annoyed. And she told us to leave. She told us to get out. I don't want you anymore. I can't. Oh, really, zombie? Okay, let's eat. This is annoying. Oh, come on. Damn zombie. Got you. Yeah. Okay, that's about all the game rage I'm going to do now. Actually, no, I can't get out. If a zombie hits me here. Really? This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All I want to do is sleep. Are you kidding me? We haven't had this much trouble sleeping at all. Okay, surely a zombie can't get into that bit. Oh nope, a skeleton. And of course, I'm almost dead. With one piece of food. Do I have any? I have dirt. Let's build a little. TFC does this. So hopefully this works for us. And I can actually sleep. Yes! Stupid game. Stupid game. So yeah, anyway, now I'm going to need some food. Back to my story. So anyway, my mum had enough of us and eventually told us to leave. And so, in my area, the council are obliged to help a vulnerable young family. And you're classed as vulnerable if you have a kid. And so they had absolutely nowhere to put us, and the only option that they had for us was to go into what they call homeless accommodation. Which, in this situation, was a very small bungalow. That was on a road. Well, it was on a cul-de-sac. About 2 miles from anything else. There was nothing but a road for 2 miles in either direction. It was literally in the middle of nowhere. For like 2 miles. So, it takes about half an hour for me to walk about 2 miles. When you've got a pram and you're on dirt roads, it is about 2 miles. I'm gonna have to. We're gonna need a resource gathering mission at some point. I'm just gonna do this. Why not? Why not? But yeah, so for 2 miles, it was about a half an hour walk, and you're pushing a tram through this, and it's dirt roads. Pram doesn't want to go down easy. It's dreadful. But this place was cold, it was damp, and we were the only tenants of this road, the only people there. There was apparently another family living in one of the houses, and there was a sheet up at the window of that house. So maybe there was, but we never seen them. We never saw them. The only other family that we saw during our 2-month stay there was one who came to look at the house next door. I don't know why they didn't stay. I don't know why, because you only go to look at these houses if you are, like we were, homeless. So they clearly didn't have a home. But that was an interesting time. That was a very interesting time because, well, the houses were bungalows, okay, in the middle of nowhere. But 2 bungalows could have joined to make 1 bungalow, because the bungalows themselves were 2 bedrooms each, which is good for if you've got a family with 1 kid like me and my wife did. But if, say, you had a family with 2 kids or more kids, you're going to need more space. And so the bungalows could open up to make room for bigger families and so on. And this was, they were separated by just a locking door. Just a normal door that you would get in your house that locks. That was it. And me and my wife, we'd been there for about a month. And during the time we'd been there, we'd seen not a soul up there. Apart from frogs. It rained this one time, and when I tell you you could not move for frogs, I mean you could not move for frogs. I have never in my life seen so many frogs. And I frequent the nature park that's literally around the corner from me, and there are frogs galore there. And, you have to watch step up that nature park, but there, that road, you could not move for them. I mean it, there must have been thousands, if not tens of thousands of them. But anyway, back to my story. Anyway, so this one morning we woke up and there were all these whispers. All you could hear was whispers, people whispering in the background. And well, I've had my fair share of paranormal experiences that I may even share with you one day if you want to hear them. So I believe 100% in ghosts. I've seen enough stuff to make me believe. And well, that's immediately what I start thinking. So me being the man of the house that I was, being all big and brave, I get the sweeping brush and I start hudging out the door to see what these voices are. But of course, I'm a man, so I have to do this properly. And right in front of me is my wife, and I'm hudging her forward with the sweeping brush. Go see what it is. Go see what it is. And she's like, "Some brave man you are." I'm like, "Yeah, no, just go see what it is." Like, if it was someone breaking in, I'd be straight down there to deal with it. But a ghost, wife, if something's coming around that corner with a sheet around it, you're getting it. Loving man I am. Absolutely loving and doting husband. But it turns out it was just some people next door looking at the house next door. But because they were talking and that door was just a normal house door, the voices were travelling. It was super creepy. But yeah, I became homeless. And unfortunately, while I was homeless, I decided that, I figured out that there was something that you could do. Now, when you are signing on the government, you have to not be doing anything else for more than 15 hours. If you are, say, in education for 16 plus hours a week, or you have a part-time job that is more than 16 hours per week, they will not help you out. You are on your own. Now, we quickly realized that only one of us actually needed to sign on, and they would pay us for both of us, because the other one would be considered the one looking after the daughter. And what this meant is that one that was the house husband or the housewife, they could go back to college. And so my wife and I decided that I would go back to college. Because simply my wife wasn't accustomed to a mum who was going to go off if she walked it to work. And my wife really didn't mind the travel as much as I did. And there were lots of other reasons. But yeah, I ended up going back and getting an education. But anyway, we lived in this like, small little dank place for like 2 months. I think it was like exactly 2 months. Or it was exactly 8 weeks. It was something like that. But we signed for this house. Good Friday. And they were going to give us the keys. We signed for a Good Friday. We got the keys Good Friday. But there were these metal bars on the doors and the windows. And the neighbour was a bit of an art, bit of a rear end, family friendly. Bit of a rear end. And one of our windows faces out onto his property. And the only way to get to that window from the outside is to actually go on his property. And he wouldn't let them on. He said that if they wanted to come on, they had to write him a letter asking him. So there was a window in the bedroom that was permanently open, because these metal things were replacing the glass, and they were inches away from the window. They were horrible, and you couldn't go in that bedroom. It was freezing cold. We just signed for the house Good Friday, so there was no electric in the house anyway. And there was no gas because, none of the utilities were picking up. It was Good Friday. Most people were bank holiday. So we ended up staying back at the old place. By the way, this house that we live in now, that house we signed for is the same house that I live in to this day. Still renting it, which is good because it's like an assured tenancy. As long as I pay my rent and as long as I don't cause any trouble, then I can stay here for as long as I choose to stay here. Which is really, really good. But the rent is a bit on the high side. But like I said, it's the area that I live in. But yeah, so during the time that I was homeless, I wasn't homeless in the sense that I was on the streets homeless, because I was considered vulnerable, and so the council helped us out. But it was a very, very trying time, because I was learning so much. I was first of all learning how to find a job, realizing that just how difficult it was. Especially because, I was required to travel up to 90 minutes to and from work. So I do an 8-hour shift, and that's broken down with an hour lunch. So that's 9 hours of work, plus an extra 3 hours travel on top of that. That's 12 hours. It's half my day. And I just couldn't because, I would have to, like I said, buses just weren't there. And so I went back to college. And that was something that my wife and I followed suit with for the years after. One of us would work for a year while the other one went to college. And thanks to going to college, I was able to get a better job, and I was able to remedy my situation. But in the beginning, I wasn't. But yeah, then we moved into this house, and I absolutely love this house. I really do. My wife doesn't. My wife really hates this house. I don't know what it is about this house that she doesn't like, but I love it, which is why when we separated, she opted to get a place of her own. But I really love this place. Do I have enough wool? I do, but I don't have enough wood. And that being said, being homeless isn't fun, and it isn't easy, and it is a chore. Because all of a sudden, I had to figure out how to get the gas turned on. I had to figure out how to get the electric turned on. Which actually brings me to another story about this place. So when we first got this place, because it was considered homeless accommodation, the stuff was in the council's name, the utilities. And so they had the key that they would give us, and we would pay so much on the key. And actually, it was just a key because there was no gas. There was electric heaters like the one I have in my office. And anyway, we had absolutely no money whatsoever moving into this place. And there was like 19p on the electric meter. And the lady who signed us onto the house, who set it all up for us, we told her that she said, here's your electric key, you're going to need some, there's only 19p on from the last tenants. And we says, well, we haven't got any money. Nobody's helping us out with anything. And she went and she took money of her own money, and put it onto the meter for us out of her own pocket. And, councils, they do have reserves of money to help people out, But I ended up volunteering for them, and I ended up learning more about it. And they aren't allowed to dip into it for stuff like that. It's not allowed. They're supposed to say, no, that's a tenant's issue. We don't, petty cash isn't for that. So I later learned that it actually did come out of her own pocket. And I just want to take a moment to, I don't remember her name. I've got my tenancy agreement that I signed back then somewhere in the house. I tend to not get rid of stuff. So maybe I can find it out. But I just want to say that there are some good people in the world, and thank you. And she introduced us to a company called Framework. And Framework are like a volunteer for the young and vulnerable. They help people who's had abusive pasts, whether it be, spousal abuse, or whether it be substance abuse, like drugs and alcohol, that kind of stuff. They're there to help people like that, as well as people like my wife and I who were vulnerable, because we had a little baby when we came out. The daughter had been born. We had a little baby girl. And, we needed help. And she sells up with a bunch of stuff. She really did help us out something amazing, this lady from Framework. Her name was Amanda. She was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I can't say enough nice things about this lady. But, she was absolutely brilliant and amazing. And I do wholeheartedly thank her for pretty much getting us this house that we ended up getting, helping us sort of thing out of the job center. So they started paying us, helping us, get into college and teaching us about that one of us could go back. And she ended up actually giving me my first writing job because, I have mentioned that I'm a writer. I don't do what I did before because she said to me that they were putting out a newsletter to publicize the 1 year anniversary or 3-year anniversary. I can't remember now. And well, there was this man called Dave, who had pretty much been instrumental in ensuring that Framework got exactly what they wanted. And they said, how would I like to write an article about this man? I would get to sit down, I would get to interview this man, I would get to ask him all sorts of questions. And lo and behold, I did. I sat down, I interviewed this man, and so yeah, I got to interview him, and I got to get published, and that was good. I don't actually. They were supposed to send me a copy of the newsletter, but I never received it. And I believe 100% they sent it, but I've always had an issue with mail at this address. I end up not getting half of the mail, and then I will put in a complaint with the Royal Mail. Like, hey, you know what, I'm not receiving all of my mail. And I get the pretty much standard response, oh, thank you for your response, we value your feedback, we'll look into this matter. And then a couple of days later, I get this huge wad of mail. And, oh, look, there's the utility bill they said they sent out when I never received it. Oh, look, that's why my phone got cut off. They sent me a bill out that I had missed. You know, or, oh, look, that's why my internet's down. I haven't paid the bill. I thought this went out. And, you know, stuff like that. Thankfully, you know, now most of it's all like done online. I switched to email and set up the one account to deal with it all. But, you know, when you sat there and you're like, oh, my internet's gone. Why is that? And you realise you've been cut off. You're like, oh, mate, you haven't sent me a bill out. I have no idea how much I was supposed to pay. I thought it had gone out, you know. Yes, we've sent you a letter. No, you haven't sent me a letter. Yes, you really have. It turns out they had sent me a letter which hadn't been delivered. So I think it probably got caught somewhere in the mail system. But that's something I've not had an issue with for a few months now. Or at least that I've noticed that I've had an issue with. But anyway, so yeah, I ended up becoming published for the first time. And actually, no, it was the second time. I'd been published prior to that. I actually came in second in a poem writing contest. And I was invited to London to sort of receive the honours and stuff for this poem that I'd wrote. And, you know, unfortunately, my nan at the time, I was only like 14, 15 when I wrote this. She was very, very ill. My mum was a carer. I mentioned earlier my mum was my uncle's carer. Well, my mum was my nan's carer. My uncle was my nan's brother-in-law. They lived together because my granddad passed away. And so my mum was both their carers. My nan was pretty much on her deathbed. And we just feasibly couldn't travel to London. We live in the north, so traveling to London, it's not an easy task. It's quite a long task. It was a couple of hours. And then this was a weekend event, so it would have been. I completely understand why we didn't go to it. But I haven't written poems or articles in many, many years. I prefer writing fiction, fantasy fiction. And maybe I'll talk about my story. If you want me to talk about my writing, I will. I'll happily talk about that. But yeah, anyway. I couldn't resist doing that. Anyway, so... Oh, there's coal over there. I actually need some coal because we don't have any. Well, we have 2 pieces. So anyway, yeah. These camps helped us get back into education. They helped us find employment. They were brilliant. And, yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic group of people framework. I actually ended up doing volunteer work for them as a befriender, but I couldn't do befriending. I'm sorry. I think it's a cruel thing, befriending, because essentially what I was being trained to do, I got trained to do this. I was trained to go to a client's house and be their friend. But I had rules. I was not allowed to exchange anything personal with them. I was not allowed to let them have access to my personal Facebook. Even if I trusted them, it was against rules. I wasn't allowed to give them my personal number. I was supposed to use a framework given phone. And this is the way befriending works all across the country, by the way. It wasn't just this organization. And in essence, I was pretending to be their friend. That was what I was being trained to do. And I completely get that that's good for some people, that they just need someone to sort of, when they've got nobody, they need someone that they feel is there for them. But we watched a video in this about a befriender who was friends with this elderly woman for many years. I forget how many it was, but it was several years. And every Friday, they had this coffee morning. And they were like this for several years until the elderly lady had been re-established in community. She'd finally started going out to bingo nights again since her husband passed away. And she'd gone back out there, but it took many, many, many years. It was quite a lot of years, like 8 or 9 years, maybe even longer. And they had this coffee morning every single morning, every single Friday, for all of those years while she got over her husband's death. And if not for this befriender, she would probably have not ever gotten over her husband's death. But yet, once that ended, the elderly lady never saw her befriender again. And I'm just, you spend 7, 8, 9 years of your life with somebody. Seeing them once a week, every week. That's more than I see some of my closest friends. You're bound to develop feelings for that person. Maybe not romantic feelings, but you're gonna care for them. I love my brothers. I love them to bits. My 2 closest friends. But my friend said to me yesterday, because my wife had a little bit of a upsetting mood on her yesterday. Something got her down a bit. And my friend said to me, "Is she alright? I love her to bits." And, I know exactly what he meant. Exactly what he meant. Was that 3 nights? I feel like that was 3 nights. I know exactly what he meant. But, you end up caring for someone. And I don't think I could have done that. I couldn't have been a befriender. Not for a long time anyway. I think it would have been cruel. You sort of like pretend to be somebody's friend and they take it away from them. But yeah, I think I'm going to end my own story there. I think I'm still like partway through this, so maybe maybe it'll be something that I pick up at a later video. I'll talk about it again because there's so much more to talk about. But I wanted to tell you that my mother kicked me out. I ended up in the homeless accommodation in a place called Wellow. I told you what that was like. There's still so much more to that place. Maybe I'll do an entire video just talking about that place. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode, guys. So if you've enjoyed the video, please do consider leaving a like. It really helps out the channel and I really do appreciate it. So please do leave that like and click subscribe if you want to see more from me. Guys, I'm Casey. I want to thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.